Hi everyone, this is Toyin Afolabi Ogunbi. Coming back to you again. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a little bit different from what I normally do. So I figured let me find something else that I do enjoy talking about and just come and have a chat with you as and when I feel like it, basically. So today, let's call this segment Toyin Talks Politics. I really want to talk about the whole Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I can't even call it a saga. Let's just call it a shit show because that's really what it is. And I say that without taking away anything from any of the victims of these people. By the way, everything that I say in these videos, these kind of Toyin Talks Politics videos, are going to be my opinion, although my research has been extensive on there. But I just want to say that these are my views, these are my opinions. These are based on things that I've read around, and everything in this video is alleged, but in some cases not so much because they're convicted felons and so on and so forth. So if you're not familiar, if you've been living under a rock or something and you're not familiar with what's been going on, so Jeffrey Epstein is a twice convicted pedophile that was from the United States. Now his history, he's now deceased, but his history is quite sordid. But in a nutshell, he started off as a school teacher, a very posh American school where all the top 1%ers children go to that school, basically. And he was a teacher at that school. And allegedly, some pupil in that school got into a bit of a sticky spot, and Jeffrey Epstein was able to help facilitate the student getting out of that tight spot. And I think because of that, he came under the gaze of the student's father, who was the head of Bear Stearns at the time. That is the story that I heard, but the narrative changes depending on which source you hear it from. Some people say that he was just a maths teacher at the school, and the head of Bear Stearns was so impressed by his math skills that he offered him a job at Bear Stearns. But I call BS on that. So from that, he was able to get this job at Bear Stearns, and but then he was only at Bear Stearns for about 5 years, and then he left Bear Stearns under a cloud of mystery. There was a trade that went bad or something like that, and they lost money, and Jeffrey Epstein had to apologize and resign. So he exited from Bear Stearns. We don't know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein, but some way, somehow, he came under the purview of Les Wexner. And Jeffrey Epstein was alleged to have had this hedge fund or brokerage or something like that. But I think it was a hedge fund that he had. And his main client at that fund was Leslie Wexner. So Leslie Wexner is, he owns a company called the Limited Group or something like that. And he's basically the guy that owns Abercrombie and Fitch, Victoria's Secret, Hollister, all the brands that fall under the Limited Group. And nobody could quite understand how Les Wexner would give all his money to Jeffrey Epstein, who had no real experience, really, in managing this kind of funds. And if he does have experience and you want to say that, okay, that's what he was doing at Bear Stearns, well, he didn't do it very well, hence why he left Bear Stearns the way he did. So allegedly, the tale is that there was some kind of relationship between Wexner and Epstein. Now, what kind of relationship this is, we don't know, but there was a kind of relationship. At some point, Epstein started dating Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the daughter of the disgraced media mogul, fake billionaire, Robert Maxwell. So And when Robert Maxwell died, she ended up going to the US because, there was no money left. He died, all his assets were seized, and, the family was basically left with no money. And so Ghislaine Maxwell ended up going to the US and spending time with Epstein. They got into a relationship. She had all the contacts, he had all the money. So it was a match made in heaven. And she was able to open her address book up to Epstein, and Epstein was able to give her in the lifestyle that she was already accustomed to. So Ghislaine Maxwell, because of her extensive address book, was able to introduce Epstein to Prince Andrew. Now, Prince Andrew, on one of Ghislaine's visits with Epstein to London, Prince Andrew went to visit, and when he went to visit Ghislaine Maxwell, he met Virginia Giuffre. And Virginia Giuffre is basically the lady who has accused Andrew of abusing her, sexually abusing her. In the UK, the legal age of consent for sexual intercourse is 16. And Virginia Giuffre, at the time that she had relations with Andrew, was allegedly 17. So from that perspective, from a legal perspective, in terms of the actual, engagement, there's nothing wrong. So you can't call Andrew a pedophile or anything like that because she was of legal age and so on and so forth. However, she was a victim of sex trafficking. She was, I would say, coerced into coming to England with Epstein and Maxwell, in my opinion, because she wasn't aware. I don't think that she was aware that she was coming to England to be offered up on a platter to Prince Andrew and be told to satisfy his urges. It's only after she got here to the UK that Prince Andrew went for a visit, and she was told, I want you to make him happy. And by that point, you can say, well, she's already stuck. She doesn't know how she's going to get back home, whatever. I don't want to assume what was in Virginia Giuffre's mind at the time. But she was young. She was impressionable. She was a child, because you're not legally an adult until you're 18 years old in the UK. So she might be been a teenager, but she was a teenage child. And this is another area where I kind of feel like the law is a bit backwards, because how can you be legally a child but then still say, okay, 16 is still fine to be having sex? I don't know. These are questions that I have. So anyway, so for me, where Prince Andrew went wrong is that he benefited from sex trafficking, in the sense that he was complicit in the sexual exploitation of Virginia Giuffre, who was an underage person that was coerced into England by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So that is why I think she has a civil case to argue with Prince Andrew. And he didn't just do it once. He did it, at least by my count, 3 times, right? So there was the one time in the UK, though that's the one where the picture, which I will insert the picture in this video, is floating about with him and Virginia Giuffre with his arm around her waist. That's the alleged picture that he's saying, well, I don't know if that was my arm. I don't remember putting my arm, but no, my guy, it's your arm around the lady. So anyway, so there's that one time. There was another time on Epstein's pedophile island, which is this house. He owned this island where basically he used to put people on his private airline, which was known as the Lolita Express, which I don't even want to get into that. I mean, what in the pedophilia? You're getting on a plane called the Lolita Express. Do you know what I mean? You should know that no good can come of of this. There's no good outcome. So I question the likes of Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Andrew and whoever else got on that plane. And you cannot tell me that you don't know the nickname for this plane is the Lolita Express, and everybody knows what about that movie Lolita. Lolita is basically a movie that is about a disgusting, inappropriate relationship between a child and an old man. Well, it's not an old man, but like a middle-aged man. So it's like, it is a child abuse, sex abuse movie. So anyway, so he had sex with her on that pedophile island, and apparently he did it in I think Epstein has an apartment in Manhattan in New York. So he met her in New York as well. So those are the 3 times, I think, allegedly, that he had sexual encounters with Virginia. And I would say that all 3 times you can argue that she was a victim of sex trafficking, because she was basically being moved from country, not just sex trafficking, cross-border sex trafficking in some cases as well, because she was moved from country to island to country situation. And I believe that Jeffrey Epstein might have used this as a source of blackmail for Prince Andrew, because I don't understand why else, after Epstein was initially convicted, Prince Andrew still felt the need to carry himself all the way from the UK to go to Manhattan to go and tell Epstein that he can't be friends with him no longer. I mean, make it make sense. If you're beefing with someone and you're no longer friends with that person, I wouldn't even board a train to go and tell you that you and me, we can't be mates no more. I wouldn't do it. Not to talk of getting on a whole plane, going to Epstein's house in New York and Manhattan, and then spending 4 days with him there. I mean, what was you repeating every day? Like, oh, you remember what I told you yesterday? Yeah, we can't be friends. Nah, no, we can't be friends. So I'm just staying here an extra 4 days, just to remind you every day on a daily that you and I can't be friends. Make it make sense. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, so now Virginia Giuffre is suing Prince Andrew, because in her adulthood, she now realizes that she was a victim as a child, a victim of this man. And she wants the world to know that she's not lying, because Andrew, I don't know whether it's the privilege or whether it was bad advice or whether it's just stupidity that made him go on the BBC and give an interview basically denying all knowledge of Virginia, and made her really seek him out and say, well, you know what, I might not be able to get you criminally, but because you're not the one that transported me, you're not the one that trafficked me. However, you did benefit from the bad situation I was in. So therefore, I'm going to get you civilly, because I want everybody to know that I'm telling the truth about you. And I have a picture to prove it. And I want the court of law and the court of public opinion to take a look at the evidence before them and let us know if they believe you or they believe me. And surely you will pay for what you did to me. And I think that's the situation that she's in now. Now, I know some people can argue that, well, you know, why is she just coming out now? Why didn't she come out before? Why is she held on to this information all this while? I don't think that Virginia Giuffre held on to this information all this while. I think she was afraid, because if you look back at interviews that she's done in the past, he has said very clearly that years and years and years after she was able to escape from Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein's clutches, because she claims that Ghislaine Maxwell actually called her. Basically, Ghislaine Maxwell insinuated to Virginia Giuffre on that phone call that I know where you are, I know where you live. That kind of threatening, sinister kind of phone call of somebody that you didn't even know. You've changed your number X amount of times. You live in a whole different continent from them. And then they're calling you how many years later to say, I still know, I still got you. I still know, I still have sights on you. So she was afraid, and it wasn't until after the FBI decided to investigate Epstein and offered her protection that she was able to speak her truth. And this was, I think in 2017, 2019, before Epstein got convicted again and supposedly hung himself in prison, which, that's another video. So now you have a situation whereby Andrew was arrogant enough to think he could ignore her, she would go away, who is she, nobody would believe her, and is now, number one, subject to the court of public opinion, and number two, subject to the Crown, and number three, subject to the British public, number four, subject to the American justice system, and number five, subject to Virginia Giuffre, So you've got major egg on your face. You look stupid. You look dumb. You look like you shouldn't, I don't know what in the greed. If somebody said to me, come fraternize with a 17-year-old boy, I'm going to look at them sideways like, who do you think I am? And that's little me. There's like a nobody compared to Prince Andrew. So you really embarrassed yourself. You've embarrassed Queen and country, quite literally, because you couldn't keep it in your pants. And you were arrogant enough to rubbish this woman and deny her truth. And now you're in a situation, it's an untenable situation. Because, in my opinion, Prince Andrew has two options. You can be dumb enough to fight this in court and lose. Either you will lose, because in my opinion, there's no way he can win. And I really don't think he can win, because I think that the Crown, whoever the grey men behind the Queen are, and Charles and William are, have investigated and have found him culpable in some way of something. And that's why they felt, well, let's get ahead of it and strip him of his titles, because we can't be seen to be supportive of somebody who's done this. So it's just a horrible, untenable situation. And it's now to the point now where he's got two options. You either fight it, lose, or you settle out of court. And by all accounts, Virginia Giuffre doesn't want money. And if she does accept money, it's going to be in the tens of millions of dollars. It's not going to be just a couple of $1 million here. That's why he's had to sell his house to try and pay for his legal fees and in my opinion, possibly a settlement. And I think he's going to have to sell more than that one house, because I don't think Andrew's got money like that. If you had money like that, why would you be feeling the need to have an association with Jeffrey Epstein, who, according to Andrew, you were associating with because it introduced you to people in Wall Street? I was in banking for many years, right? You can't tell me that a member of the royal family needed someone like Jeffrey Epstein to introduce him to people in Wall Street. You can't tell me that the palace itself, Clarence House, or whoever it is that runs them, can't make an introduction to somebody significant in Wall Street. And you can't tell me that somebody significant in Wall Street will not take a meeting with a member of the royal family. Make it make sense, please. Make it make sense. So, now you have to sell everything, all kit and caboodle. You can't tell me he has money like that, because by all accounts, Epstein paid off way back in the day a £24,000 debt of Fergie. I know Fergie basically be owing money left, right, and center to everybody, but allegedly, but not really. There's evidence of this. But notwithstanding, how much is £24,000? Are you telling me that you couldn't go to your ex-husband and say, listen, before it becomes an embarrassment, please help me pay this little debt? I know you paid that other one last week, and I know you paid the one the week before, but please do me a solid and pay this little debt. No, Jeffrey Epstein is paying the debt. So I don't think that Andrew has money like that. In my view, if he goes to court, if he takes this to trial and is found guilty in a civil setting, what's to stop that from leading on to a federal investigation to see how culpable it is? And to be honest, Ghislaine Maxwell is over there. She's a convicted sex trafficker. I mean, what a title to put on your CV at the ripe old age of 60. Do you know what I mean? What a thing to to be called at the age of 60. You're no longer socialite Ghislaine Maxwell. You're no longer environmentalist Ghislaine Maxwell. You're no longer daughter of media mogul Ghislaine Maxwell. You're now convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. It's bad. Damn it, it's bad. You know? So and this is the person that Andrew stuck by and was insisting was his friend. I mean, I do encourage you to go and look at that BBC interview where Andrew just basically embarrassed himself and, you know, was coming out with stupid things and lies about how he doesn't sweat. Yet somebody dug out a picture of Andrew round about the age somewhere in the 90s when this whole thing happened, where he supposedly doesn't sweat, but the picture he's looking well sweaty in it. I mean, I was trying to insert that picture in here as well. I mean, all they have to do, if you take this to trial, is pull out that interview as evidence and just basically go frame by frame by frame and debunk every single thing that Andrew was saying in there. And there he would lose his credibility. And once he's lost his credibility, case closed, you know? So please let me know your thoughts, your views, your opinions. You know, I might do more of this kind of content. I don't know. I mean, I change my mind like the wind on these kind of things, but hit the like button, please share and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.